You're listening to The Breakfast Show here on Faith FM. And we covered in our first segment of our show in the first hour, Bible passages, Bible stories that happened around the first day of the first month. And that was to celebrate our first day of live show here today. So if you missed that, you can catch up at the podcast. If you'd like the list of these 5 passages, you can text me with the hashtag first day, and I will send that list to you. But we still have lots to come today. Dan, what are you going to be covering in your segment this
I'll
morning?
be looking at the good news of judgment.
Good news and judgment. Can judgment be good news? Well, Dan is going to walk us through that. I am going to talk about how to create your own personal mission statement for 2026. So if you already have one, how can we get back to it? And why is it even important? And finally, we are going to have Justin Lawson joining us today at 7:35. He's going to be covering all things politics, including the United States strikes against Venezuela. He wants to talk about the oil and how does that affect Russia and China and Iran, and also some revival of Islam and Christianity in the West. That and much more in today's show, so you have to stay tuned. But now we are going to play another quiz game. Producer Shell is going to give us a new quiz question, and you can play along by texting us to 0491 064 669.
That is right. And our third quiz question of today is coming from the New Testament. What did Jesus say would cry out if his disciples kept silent? What did Jesus say would cry out if the disciples kept silent? That is your question. And the number again, 0491 064 669. Both the hosts have it correct this morning. And yeah, I think that's the first one. We've got everybody getting it correct. Well done.
It's my first one correct for the year.
Very good. I'll read it out one last time. What did Jesus say would cry out if his disciples kept silent?
Yes, that's a great question. This one, if you do know the answer, you know what to do. We also have a birthday draw that's coming up. So if you were born in January, you let us know. Give us your date of birth, and what is going to happen is that you will automatically get into the special draw of the breakfast show. And what you can get into this draw, completely free, but you can choose from an exquisite Bible, from some board games, cookbooks, vouchers, or a dinner with a Faith FM host. We'll try to organize that. So if you would like to get any of that and have a chance to participate, well, you know what to do. Just text us with your name and your date of birth to 0491 064 669, and you will automatically get into this draw. All right, let's talk about the good news in judgment. Then, because look, when I'm thinking about judgment, or when I think that when a lot of people think about judgment, people start really, shaking in their bases. Like, they get the shivers down their spine, and it's like, oh, judgment.
Shaking in their boots.
That's right, shaking in their boots. They are genuinely afraid. I don't want to be on the receiving end of God's judgment. Because, when I read into the Bible and I've seen sometimes God's judgment being manifested, what I see is I see destruction, I see punishment, and also a lot of people have this very negative connotation with judgment. But then you're talking about that there's a good news side of it.
It is absolutely good news.
So where do we start?
Totally. So this kind of links with our new beginnings for first day of the year and so forth, and the cleansing that you looked at in Chronicles where Hezekiah cleansed the temple. Judgment and cleansing of the temple kind of go together in the Bible. And the reason that it is good, the evidence that we have in the Bible that it is good news is that in the Psalms, 4 times the psalmist cries out to God, "Judge me, God." And the psalmist really anticipates and looks forward to judgment and sees it as a joyful thing that he really wants to bring on him.
Okay.
And so far from being a threat to personal assurance, judgment is actually something that is looked forward to in the Bible. It's a positive thing. It is it's a desired thing and a desirable thing, which is pretty it's not the way we think about judgment, is it?
It is a little bit counterintuitive. And look, I remember that once I was reading and I was studying about this topic then, and actually some translators said, you know what? A lot of times when we see the word judgment, even, for example, you gave this fantastic example that in the Psalms, 4 times we find the psalmist saying, "Judge me, O God." Another word that can be used to that with a similar meaning, but I think that it captures more, is like, "Vindicate me, O God." So I was reading this article one time, in what the person was writing about is that the biblical authors, when they looked for judgment, they were not thinking so much that they were in the receiving end of the shtick of a criminal sentence. But they saw that as a civil case, basically, where God is going to vindicate their case. Basically, when they're asking God for vindication or for "Judge me, O Lord," judge me, is basically saying, "God, declare me that I am righteous. Declare to me that all of this suffering, this oppression that I am suffering, that I'm not guilty."
Well, the ironic thing is we actually are guilty. And judgment proclaims the guilty innocent. So there is a sense in which the psalmist is looking forward to judgment as a proclamation of innocence, or, you know, so there are false accusations that, say, King David was put under. And so judgment in that context was declaring his innocence, because he truly was.
Yeah.
But there is also a sense in which the psalmist is looking for judgment as a declaration of innocence that only God can give, because he alone can save us, and we are actually guilty. And so the good news of God's judgment is that the guilty is declared innocent, because he is a righteous judge and a merciful judge, and a judge full of grace.
Yeah.
And so he substitutes his own righteousness in our behalf. And so in any type of judgment that we face, criminal lawsuit, we are assumed innocent and we could be found guilty. But in God's judgment, we already are guilty, but we could be declared innocent.
Wow.
So that's why it's good news. It has to be good news, because we're all on death row. We're all guilty of sin. And we could, in fact, we will be declared innocent. The only thing that is required is that we put our trust and faith in God's declaration of forgiveness.
All right, but let me play the skeptic's advocate here for a moment. You're saying me that, hey, we are guilty, and God, just because of his goodness, because he likes us, he's going to declare us innocent. I would say, look, if we were talking about in human terms, I'd say, man, what kind of shenanigan are you talking about here? How can a judge pronounce someone that is actually guilty innocent just because you know what? Then yes, you're guilty of bumping into Joseph's car and destroying the car and making a wreck. But you know what? I like you a lot. I'm going to declare you innocent. Okay, how about that? Like, if an earthly judge does that to you, he's going to be unjust to me. So how does that work? How does God declare people that are actually guilty innocent without, committing another...
Without violating justice.
But another injustice himself?
Look, that's a profound question, and it's a deep question, but I'll give a very quick and simple answer, because there's other things I want to bring out about judgment and the good news of judgment. The quick, easy answer is that God, being our creator and the creator of the law, he is the only one able to meet the demands of the law on our behalf, and to take our penalty.
Yeah,
he's our creator.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, he paid the penalty on our behalf.
Yeah,
through Jesus. He that's why. But what else can we look forward to in that Bible concept of the judgment?
Yeah, so there's an interesting thing about judgment, and this kind of gets back to the stories that we were looking at before of the flood and the temple and so forth that we're looking at in our Bible study before. Judgment is when God pronounces judgment, he doesn't come arbitrarily and just say, okay, the flood's going to happen tomorrow, or right now I'm just flooding the earth. He came, investigated the conditions of the earth, and found that men's hearts were evil continually, and then gave a period of 120 years for Noah to warn the people, and there was this period of investigation. If people wanted to change their ways, they could, and God was interacting with the people, saying, "Hey, these are my pending judgments. You have time to negotiate with me to change your ways, to find the escape route." And so every time that there's been a situation of wickedness, God doesn't just come immediately and proclaim judgment. He comes and conducts an investigation. It's not because God needs more information. He has all the information available to him, but he does it so that he's transparent and so that we can participate in understanding the process of God's judgment and his principles. And so this idea of investigation before judgment is right through the Bible. It happened with Adam and Eve. It happened before the flood. It happened at Sodom and Gomorrah. And with Cain and Abel, every time God comes and says, "Hey, where are you?" or "Where's your brother?" There's this period of investigation before judgment.
It is almost like I do not know if you have had these kinds of exams before when you're in university. There's a test coming up, and the teacher says, "Hey, there's a big test coming up, but here are the questions that I'm going to be asking."
Yeah, right.
And he gives you like a long period of time, like a month to prepare for it. The only way that you will fail that test if you didn't prepare for it, but you know exactly what to prepare because have you ever had any teacher that used that method?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And I think this is similar. Look, God, what I'm hearing here is God saying, look, yes, there is going to come a judgment, but hey, everybody will have a lot of time to prepare for it and have all the resources so that you can be declared innocent.
And this is good news because we are declared innocent and because it reveals the righteousness, the character of God and his principles. And that's why in Revelation, the first angel's message starts with the proclamation of the everlasting gospel. And part of that is that the hour of his judgment has come. That's good news. And the prophet Daniel also talks about judgment in favor of the saints. And so throughout the Bible, throughout the Psalms, as we just recounted, the judgment is good news, and that's great news.
That is absolutely great news.
You're listening to the Breakfast Show podcast on Faith FM. Positively different.
We're now going to give the answer to the quiz question, so I'll pass the ball to producer Shell, and we're going to get a new question right after that.
We won't be getting another question until the next hour, but we can get the answer for this one. Still the same. What did Jesus say would cry out if his disciples kept silent? That was the stones or the rocks, as you both answered correctly. Yeah. Well done. And I think that we've got a couple of correct answers. We got one from David. Yeah, quiet. And I don't know that everybody knows we're live today. We're live. So text us in. Our holiday is over and we'd love to hear from you.
So it's great that you're texting in. Otherwise, the rocks would have had to cry out for the answer for that quiz question.
Yeah, good point.
Very good. All right, Daniel, I actually want to talk to you about mission statements, personal mission statements. Have you ever done one of these before?
I have.
For yourself?
I can't remember what it was, but I have done it.
Yes. Look, I have done, I know which one mine is, but it's always good to, tweak it here and there. But before we talk about that, what is a mission statement? So often you see in organizations, corporations, churches, you name it, government agencies, they all have usually they have mission, vision, values. And these things, I think that in a lot of places, these things are there just because someone told us that we have to do this. But these things are actually very useful.
They in some organizations, and the organization that I'm working with at the moment, it's visible and it's clear and it's meaningful.
Yeah.
So it is done well often. Sometimes
that's right, and
sometimes it's not.
And I want to share some ideas about creating your own personal mission statement from a biblical perspective. But I want to talk about why is it important? Because this is the thing. The mission statement of any company or organization, it helps to give, as you mentioned, clarity and guidance. Meaning that what is your mission in life? And it becomes the litmus test for everything else that you do. Everything else that you do in your life will either help you in this mission, help you to accomplish it, or will not help you to accomplish it. So you can actually judge to see if you're effective, if you're getting there or not. That's the purpose.
And the values also help you, they guide you as to how to do it.
That's right. Yeah, just in a nutshell, that's right. The values is how you're going to do it.
Yeah.
And the vision is where you want to end up getting. So it usually has a time frame and, okay, this is what we want by this date. This is like a broad goal.
Yeah, so it's answering, so the vision, values, mission are answering three basic questions, and maybe some more than that, but
Yeah.
where the what, the where, and the how.
That's right.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the what for the time being here first. And,
mission statement.
Yeah, mission statement. And you can say, look, do I need a mission statement? Like my mission statement is to just be led by the Holy Spirit. It's okay. You can actually have that as a mission statement if that's you. But I am going to suggest that mission statement has to do with planning and intentionality. And I think that the ultimate planner and intentionality comes from God himself. So I think that God himself has mission statements.
Yeah, right. And we can see them in Matthew 28 and Revelation 14. There are mission statements in the Bible.
That's right.
That are clear.
Let's think of, and look at a couple of these passages then. So one of these passages here that I have is in Isaiah chapter 14, verse 27. I think that is a very interesting Bible verse here that talks about it. This is what it says here. For the Lord of hosts has purposed, and who will annul it? His hand is stretched out, and who will turn it back? You basically say, look, God has a plan. And like when God has a plan, like who's going to convince him not to do his plan?
Yeah, that's,
Who's going to frustrate his plans?
Yeah.
And the answer is, of course, like no one.
Yeah.
So God has a plan, not even himself, which is sometimes we come up with a plan and then like we lose focus, we sidetrack, we go somewhere else, but God said, no, I actually have a plan. And who's going to prevent me from accomplishing that plan? No, is it Satan? Is it people? So look, my plan is going to be accomplished. When I say that I'm going to do something, I am going to do that something.
Yeah.
Which is great. God doesn't change his mind. And what would you say it's like the ultimate plan, the ultimate mission of God?
The interesting thing is there's a paradox there because ultimately God's plan is for everyone to be thriving and happy, but somehow there's a lot of people that are suffering and not thriving and happy. How's that God's plan? And if God's plan can't be annulled, can't be thwarted, then how is all of this happening? But part of God's plan is for love and freedom to exist, and for ultimate happiness and the realization of God's character of love. For that to really be appreciated and understood, there has to be this freedom, which means that there's a risk that we can reject God.
That's right.
But God's ultimate plan is for love and for freedom and for happiness to just be so widespread and universal that He's allowed this this mess, but it's still His ultimate plan to have full restoration, and that is coming, and nothing can thwart that.
Yeah,
because it will be ultimately everything will be set right,
absolutely,
and restored.
Look, God, I think that you're riding the right track there, because God has a lot of, I think, like sub goals and sub plans and so on, and part like what He's trying to accomplish. In one great level, you're saying, hey, one of the things that God wants to accomplish is the restoration of all things back to His original intent and purpose. Because when we read Genesis chapter 1, we see God creating a wonderful world where human beings were supposed to thrive and to live and to enjoy, to multiply and to form families, constitute families, and enjoy God's creation, learn new things, achieve. But Satan threw a spanner in that works there, through sin. And now part of God's plan, and this is why I say it's part of God's plan, is to restore that, to bring that up. That's why He had to send Jesus, for example, to die in our place, to deal with the problem of sin, so that God could justify us without breaking His own law, so that His law could, still be considered something stable and secure and harmonious and important in the universe. That was very important. But if you look at an even higher level, God's ultimate mission statement is to glorify His name. Now, why do I say this? And let's just explore that a little bit, because it can even sound a little bit megalomaniac from God's perspective. Like, why does God want to glorify His own name? Because if I'm saying here, hey, Dan, my personal mission statement is that my name, Joseph's, Skafy's name will be glorified. I want to be famous. You say, man, what a selfish person that you are. What a selfish goal. But I would say that if there's one being in the universe where that's not the case, is with the creator of all things.
Yeah, absolutely. And a way to look at that, to understand that, is if I wanted to be glorified on my farm amongst all my animals, that would kind of make sense, because if my animals all trust me and look to me as the one that provide for them, and and aren't just trying to run amok and organize themselves by themselves without me, their owner and provider, being the boss, everything will be chaos. But if they do look to me as the provider, then everything will work.
Then let me just say, I think this is the coolest application I have ever seen on that idea of glorifying. Like, if your mission, I know it sounds funny, but I think that's very profound what you said there. Like, if your mission statement, like from a farmer perspective, that all the animals of your farm will glorify your name, it's not that you want to be worshipped as a god by the animals, but what you want is that these animals will say, like, they enjoy such a level of well-being and happiness and purpose that they say, hey, Dan, thanks for providing that for us, because we couldn't organize all of the moving parts of the farm by ourselves.
Yeah, right.
And yet you're doing this and you're sacrificing yourself, your time, your well-being, even to the point of your life, so that we as the animals, we can actually have the fullest life, the most abundant life we can possibly have.
And this isn't, there's no, when we think of this as an example, there's no entering into the mind of the idea that, oh, Dan must be a megalomaniac because he wants all the animals to glorify him. It just makes sense, because I'm a superior, I mean, it even sounds megalomaniac to say this, but I am clearly of a different order
that's right.
of intelligence.
You're the carer.
I am the provider and the carer for the farm, or my wife maybe. Maybe it's her that we should be glorifying, not me. But and the animals, that they are a lower order. Like it just makes sense. It has to be that way. And so it is with us, with God.
That's right. So basically, when God says that, there's a Bible verse in Isaiah 43 verse 7 says, everyone who is called by my name, whom I have created for my glory, I have formed him. Yes, I have made him. So when God says, look, I have created the entire universe for my glory, what he's saying is that I have created the entire universe with the capacity to forever, increasingly, in every day being renewed, to experience such joy, such fulfillment, such purpose, that I want them, that they are going to say, thank you. They're going to say, wow, this is amazing. Thank you, God. Like, we cannot express our gratitude to that. So that's the universe that God wanted to create, a universe where every single being would be so grateful for everything that God has provided for them, that they would use their free will to say, God, we want to glorify you. We want to somehow retribute. We want to respond back. We want to honor you, because you have given us such love and such happiness that we just want to somehow share that along and share that back.
So how does this relate to personal mission statements?
So personal mission statements. I'll tell you the mission statement of my church. And my personal mission statement is very similar to that one. So my church's mission statement is this. The mission of the church is to make disciples of Jesus Christ, who live as his loving witnesses and proclaim to all people the everlasting gospel of the three angels' messages in preparation for his soon return. Now, basically what the mission statement is, my mission statement is similar to that one. My ultimate goal is I want to make disciples in the context of the three angels' messages,
Revelation
which is the
14.
messages to these end times, for the purpose of preparing as many people as I can to receive Jesus in his soon return.
You're listening to the Breakfast Show podcast on Faith FM. Positively different.
And it is now time for us to call in our political correspondent from Canberra, the much beloved Justin Lawman. Justin, welcome to you. Happy New Year. It's great to have you on board with us in this new season.
Yeah, Gay, Skafy, Daniel, how are you both?
Yeah, good.
We're doing good, and I think that we're both doing way better than Nicolas Maduro, because I wouldn't be wanting to spend my New Year's in a prison cell. But can you tell us a little bit about what exactly happened, what's behind it, and does the Bible have anything to do with it?
I think there's a lot of things happening that are pushing us towards the ultimate fulfillment of Bible prophecy here. So if we just step back from this current thing for a minute.
Yeah.
Remember, November is the midterms of this year.
Wow, already.
So we're in that territory where Trump, if the Republicans lose the House, his presidency is going to be severely handicapped. So they're not gonna spare the horses in the first half of this year. They're going for it because he probably, if things don't go well for him, and politics is a funny thing, he'll be curtailed on doing whatever he wants to do.
Yeah.
He'll get impeached immediately.
Which happened in his first term, in his first presidency, haven't it? Like I
Twice,
think
really. Twice. Yeah, they know, they've already practiced. They're going to go there. You know they're going to go there.
Wow. So there's a lot at stake here.
There's a lot at stake, and this is the big powerhouse at the end of time in Bible prophecy. The world's revolving around the United States, and here we are. And Trump has taken on. We're just stepping closer to our current thing here. Trump has taken on a doctrine called the Monroe Defense. Hemispherical defense. So basically, he wants Greenland and he wants all these South American countries that are all his neighbors to protect the homeland. And Venezuela was a hotbed. You know that just 3 hours before the attack, the Chinese delegation was in Venezuela posing for a photo. They were in the country. The second highest guy in China was in the country while the Americans took over the place. So there was a lot of power struggle going on leading up to this, and this is America exercising their superpower status.
Wow, and I think there's a lot of messages that the Trump administration is really sending to the rest of the world, particularly to China, Russia, and the countries that are aligned to it. But why do you think these messages are, Justin?
Their messages are that we are the big guys and we will run the show. And Trump has sort of run out of patience with trying to. America's been quite diplomatic, and even when they fight a war, they do so with one arm behind their back. I think those days have come to an end. I think if you're in Cuba, Colombia, and I can't say this on air, but I'm going to say it, Canada, you're worried today. And Greenland, your fate has been sealed. They are pushing forward with this doctrine of hemispherical defense. So they're pulling out of Europe to the degree that they have been in Europe. They'll still be there, but not to like they have. And they're coming to Australia. They're building up their forces in Australia. This is all shaping up for a showdown with China.
Wow.
Is my interpretation of it.
Wow. Well, there's definitely lots happening, lots going on. So what are some of the repercussions of that? So let's talk about what happened to Nicolas Maduro and what is the strategic – because there is definitely a narrative that the White House offered for, hey, why they are doing what they're doing. And but there's also a lot of people are saying, hey, what about the oil? Because Venezuela is like one of the richest – place on earth in terms of oil and oil reserves. So some people are saying, hey, does it mean that the United States is just doing this for the oil reserves so that now they can control it? Well, how do we navigate that? There's a lot going on here.
Well, Trump himself says it's about the oil, which is it's a little refreshing because when they went into Iraq and all that, they distanced themselves from the petrodollar that they control. Not this time. He's been straight up and saying, yeah, we're going to get this oil back on the market and it's going to get refined by American companies.
Wow.
When you think about that, Trump is like, he's taken off the gloves. He's just showing his hand here. That's pretty incredible when you think that the way America will have to behave before Jesus returns. This is definitely a step closer towards that. See, the oil in Venezuela is heavy crude. Most of America's new oil that they have started refining is this shale oil, which is very light oil. Texas has been set up with their big refineries for heavy crude because that's what they were very strong in forever, Texas, and not so much now. So they can use this Venezuelan oil to go through American refineries. This is a powerhouse to the world economy because energy is always the thing that drives an economy.
Yeah.
And he has to win in November. And if the economy in the United States is no good in November, he will not hold the House and the Senate in the midterm. So he needs this to get the economy humming as well. And he's been very open about that.
So are we expecting to see a sharp reduction if everything goes according to plan? Are we expecting to see a big reduction of petrol prices, and then this is the thing, like everything has petrol prices including on them because everything needs to be transported by cars and trucks and airplanes and everything. So do you think that that's kind of the initial plan to really lower down the prices for the U.S. market?
100% it is, and if they can do that, if they can reduce the cost of energy, their economy will boom, and he needs that to happen. And he's got his tariffs, and he's trying to get manufacturing and jobs back to the U.S. If this doesn't come off for Trump, his political destiny ends. So there's a lot at stake. And this will not be, and I'm telling you now, if you listen to what he says, we don't have to guess. He's saying Cuba, Colombia, and he actually made the statement, and people might be missing this, that we have more drugs coming into the US over the Canadian border. So don't be shocked, folks, if you see some stuff going on. Just keep calm. And we know that this is all going in the direction the Bible told us it would. The Bible never gets it wrong, guys.
So when what is the prediction like? What is the Bible passage that kind of jumps to your mind when you look at the geopolitics of the day? What is the verse that is being fulfilled in front of our eyes here that we should pay attention to?
In Revelation chapter 13, there are two beast powers. The beast that comes out of the sea, which is really the great state church of the Dark Ages that ruled the world. And then we have, as it goes into captivity, down in verse 9 and 10, there's a little riddle, and this new power comes up, this lamb-like beast, which ultimately, lamb-like is Christian. It arises out of the earth, an unpopulated place, the seas of peoples, multitudes, nations, and tongues. He comes out of the earth, and this is the arrival of the United States, identified in the 1860s in Bible prophecy by J.N. Andrews, and J.N. Andrews was on the money. This man had memorized the New Testament. He is a amazing scholar. He was the first to identify America in Bible prophecy. And as time has gone on, this is when Custer was defeated by the Sioux Nation. People didn't believe J.N. Andrews when he said America will be the last great power on earth. Well, they don't doubt you today. And America is the one that has all the power. It makes an image back to the first beast of Revelation 13, where the church and the state become the one thing. And we are living in that right now. And then there's a mark of the beast that follows that. So that's what I'm talking about when I say America's role. We don't know the nitty-gritties of Venezuela and Greenland and all those things, but we know the big picture of where this is going.
Yeah, there's a passage there that says, like, who is going to wage war, with that beast, with that end of times power, which now we identified as America. And I think that every time that we see America becoming bolder and bolder in the international scenario, particularly through the use of force, I think that question starts to reverberate. Like, who's going to stand up against them? Who's going to challenge their military power? And of course, the jury's out there. People say, yeah, China and Russia. But at the same time, one of the messages that I think that this move sent is, hey, if you're an ally of Russia, if you're an ally of China, guess what? Your friends cannot save you. If your friends cannot help you, if I decide to take you down, they're not going to do anything. Just sit and watch. And
China had sold anti-aircraft missile batteries, latest technology they have, to Venezuela. How did that go? China will not take on and win against the United States. They may take them on. The United States is a serious power when it comes to military. No one can really honestly think they can beat the United States.
Wow. That is quite something for us to keep an eye on. And in terms of China and Russia and Iran, which are all the big players that were buying the oil from Venezuela, what happens to them?
Well, this is what remains to be seen. We know that at the end, there's only one, and it's the lamb-like beast. It's the US. So I think Russia's a bit of a spent force. Their GDP is the same as Denmark. They're not really the big power. They've got a lot of nukes, but China is the manufacturing hub on planet Earth, and America and China are in a big struggle here, and that's playing out, and that affects us in Australia very much because of China's statements towards us. So we know America's going to win. How that happens, it's going to remain to be seen, but it's playing out in front of our eyes as we speak.
Absolutely.
Now, at the same time in the West, I listened to your program this morning. You're talking about church attendance being so high in Australia. Islam across the world, radical Islam, which is up to 20% of the 1 billion Islamic followers, worshippers, that they're playing a real role in the West. We're seeing it in the US with the corruption that's been discovered in Minnesota. Apparently, that's far more widespread across other states. It's going to come out, which is affecting their domestic policy on immigration. Here we are, our own Prime Minister's going to succumb to a royal commission, it looks like. The media is indicating today that's leaking that Albanese will open up a royal commission.
Into Bondi.
Let's see what happens there. But what happened there is really waking up the average Aussie who cares about going camping on the weekend and going to the beach in summer, watching the footy in winter and the cricket. All of a sudden, the religion of Islam and its ideology is being compared to Christianity. And some of the statements I'm hearing from people that will identify as an atheist, how they want to stay Australia as a Christian country. We want Christmas. We don't want our Christmas trees burned down in public. And this tension between Islam and the West, I believe, is going to lead to a real revival of Christianity and people identifying as a Christian.
It reminds me, what are you going to say then?
Yeah, that is interesting. I think the West is a bit paralyzed with how to deal with Islam because the West is a bit turned off by Christianity, so it doesn't have a basis on which to critique Islam, but yet there's elements up there that are as
that's changing in front of our faces.
Yeah.
It's almost overnight.
Yeah, right.
Okay, it reminds me a little bit of that notorious, famous atheist, Sir Richard Dawkins.
Yeah.
Richard Dawkins, in one of his interviews, he says, look, because he used to be
a cultural Christian.
That's right. He used to be very much against religion and Christianity and rubbishing the Bible and everything. He softened up so much over the years that you could not even recognize the man. You think that it's a second person. But one of the things that he says is that, you know what? I am more and more, I identify as a secular Christian, and I came to the conclusion that I don't really actually want a West without Christianity. Because
there is no West without Christianity.
That's right. Because he says, look,
there is no West.
He says, because the alternative is so much worse and so much dangerous. And it goes against all of the values that we as a Western society shared. So he actually stopped criticizing Christianity so much. He says, you know what? I actually like the Judeo-Christian values to still be underpinning the philosophy, the minds that we have in the West, because when we get rid of them, look at North Korea, what happens. Look at, many countries in the Middle East, what happens. It really opened the pandemonium.
Yep. And that is played out. This shocking attack that happened at Bondi, and at the moment, it's all anti-Semitic, radical Islam, and we're not talking about all Muslims at all. Really, some wonderful. I have wonderful friends from Afghanistan and other places who are Islamic, but that radical component of Islam that really takes that Quran literally. They hate Christianity just as much as they do Judaism. Yeah, and that's not being acknowledged in the media.
Yeah, right.
That's not being acknowledged. And as more people look into this, as the media has now, they've lost control of the narrative because we're all getting alternative sources of media. That is you can see how this is playing out in front of our eyes very rapidly, that the West is going to all of a sudden run back towards Christianity.
Wow.
Yeah, interesting.
That's a very good insight. Justin, thank you so much for bringing the news and the updates from the geopolitics around the world. We're looking forward to have you again with us every Monday morning, 7:35 a.m.
Thanks for being a part of the Faith FM family. Join our community on Facebook or get in touch at 1-800-FAITH-FM.